Actually, it's the lead play in our offense.
Double tackle, take the defensive end if he's over him. If he's not, you drive down the first man who is inside. Fullback, you tell him to take the first man outside the offensive tackle. No one shows. Go right by them and field inside. If the YN has the linebacker taken out, he cuts inside. If the YN has the linebacker in, he comes all the way around. So look at this play. What we're trying to get is a seal here and a seal here, and try to run this play in the alley.
What's up, gang? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on Packernet.com. You can find me on Twitter at Packers_access. The chat is already filling up. We've got a ton of news coming in tonight. And just want to say welcome to my guest tonight, obviously Jacob from the Packernet Fantasy Podcast. And we got Tim live in Green Bay. Let's take a second, Tim, and wish our buddy Jacob a very happy birthday. Jacob, congratulations, sir. How old are you?
Happy birthday, man.
I am 36.
36.
36.
Oh, man, I got to give you one of these. Hey, happy birthday. Happy birthday. I love it, man. Nah, we appreciate everything you do, brother. And you could be anywhere tonight, and you're choosing to be on here talking Packers with us, and it's exciting, man, for sure. Let's see. We got the chat filling up. We got Josh in the chat, Eric, Sutherland, Zane. We got Cheesehead Murph, Simon. Golly, boy, there's a ton of people in there already. Jan in the house. Got Brad. I guess that's Brooke. All right. Brooke's in the house. So Pro. I don't think I've seen I don't know if it's Brookie. I guess it's Brookie is the name. Could be a man, could be a woman. I don't know. We'll see. Garrett. Everybody, man. Mike Hebring in here. What's up, guys? Welcome to the show. Appreciate y'all tuning in. Let's kick this thing off with the news today. It sparked quite a bit of controversy. We got a super chat here from Josh Martin, and he brought it up right off the bat. First of all, Josh, thank you for supporting the stream, buddy. He said, Jonathan Taylor to the Packers. I don't get it. With Jones or Dillon, why waste assets on another running back? Obviously talking about the rumors, and it was pretty much confirmed today. I haven't seen anybody deny it. I heard Goody's press conference, but essentially what's on the rumor mill, Jacob, is Jonathan Taylor, obviously requesting a trade from the Indianapolis Colts, and the Packers reached out to the Colts. He was one of two. They were one of two teams, I believe. Them and the Miami Dolphins were the two teams most interested. Obviously, a deal didn't get done. What did you learn about this whole rumor today, man? I know you were kind of digging into it. Where did it start? Maybe where's it at?
Right. So, I mean, it's first of all, let's not say it was all fluff like anything. It kind of falls in the middle. There was actual interest from the Packers. Gutekunst stood on the podium and admitted it himself and said that, we had some talks and that he likes. But I think we should back up quick. And every single time that this happened last year, think about it. Every time there was a free agent, the Packers are one of the teams in the talks. Gutekunst says, I literally want to be in every conversation for every free agent just to test the waters, to see what's available. I think he learned that a lot from Ted Thompson, who learned that from who's the OG? Who am I thinking of? Brett Favre, Ron Wolf era. So, you just don't settle with making your squad how it is. Always look to make it a more improved squad. So we can get into how maybe it progressed, but I think the initials. All right, let's say this, because there was an instance in the interview, which I think is a little bit suspect, where Gutekunst actually says, he acknowledged AJ or AJ Dillon possibly may have been used as leverage in a potential negotiation. And he said that's kind of just what we do in any kind of situation. So when they asked him specifically, what would you have done, or was AJ part of that trade? He immediately shot that down. He said, AJ's part of this team and he was going to be regardless. He said, again, there's a lot of conversations. We are used at times for leverage situations at times as well, but we're not doing what we're supposed to do if we're not investigating these things, at least listening to things. But yeah, I think the nature of the world now, there's all sorts of things out there. Some are true, some aren't. So Gutekunst basically said, we kind of snuffed out some potential conversations. There was nothing concrete. Obviously, nothing happened, and that's just more of like a rumor mill kind of thing. But I think that where this stemmed from, more of kind of the drama of it all, there was an article that Bill Huber, I believe, shared out of Sports Illustrated or something that affiliated with the two. And it was quoting some random executive, of course, like it always does. And the keynote here is that the executive is not affiliated with either organization, that being the Colts or the Packers. So he actually went on to be quoted. He says, "I actually don't hate it," said one longtime NFL executive who was not affiliated with either team. With a young quarterback, give him a good running back, a good running game. You don't have big paydays coming up so they can absorb the costs. The executive thought that Dillon and a second-round pick for Taylor would make sense. The Packers potentially will have an additional first-round pick coming from the Jets, from Aaron Rodgers, blah, 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 blah. So right there is like the most – it's kind of like all media these days. Read really closely as to who they're referencing, and it's usually like a source close to the story or someone in the office says, or somebody that's sister's brother's girlfriend's best friend's sister was at 31 Flavors last night. Get that reference?
I got you.
Bueller. So anyways, long story short, it looked like Goody was doing what Goody does, which is due diligence. And he put his nose out there, seeing like, hey, what kind of trade? And to be fair, I think the reason he may have been doing this is because, guys, if we don't remember, basically both of these running backs are going into contract years, if I'm not mistaken, which is also interesting because I think Jonathan Taylor's going into a contract year. But I think that this, if there was any sort of actual move there, I don't know how. It does make me excited to think of a possible three-headed dragon between Jonathan Taylor coming back to Wisconsin, Aaron Jones, who Gutekunst went on to say is quote unquote the heart and soul of this team, and then AJ Dillon, who's the mayor of Door County. I mean, that's a pretty sneaky. I mean, I don't know what you would do in that situation. I don't know if it's financially even feasible, but I think it was just a lot of rumor mill stuff. Matt LaFleur actually went on to say a couple more things about it, and he basically kind of shot down. He's getting a lot more snippy with the media, and I really kind of like it. He basically, I'm not going to listen to whatever you guys write about and comment on it. So, like, just why don't you just ask better questions, kind of basically is what he said. So,
yep.
I liked it, man. I like seeing some attitude from LaFleur.
Absolutely. We need it. We need it. I'm here for it. Again, Josh Martin with the super chat. Thank you so much for supporting the stream, buddy. We appreciate it. Tim, your take on the Jonathan Taylor trade rumors, man. What do you think? Would it be a good idea? First of all, do you think it's legit? Do you think it could possibly happen? Would you be willing to give up A.J. Dillon? Just anything, man. Do you think it would be a good idea or not?
I think the most interesting thing about it is that we're talking about a running back for a running back trade, which is something that's pretty position for position trade is pretty rare in the National Football League, which, you know, by that logic has me leaning a little more towards this is all just rumor mill. And, you know, because anyone can say what they want. Hey, you know, I heard Jerry Rice has been catching balls and he's thinking about coming back, you know, like, so I don't know if there's any validity to it. I do think, if anything, what is clear about the Green Bay Packers is we are committed to running the damn football. And, you know, that's evident with the moves we've already made up until today, which I'm sure we'll get into. But running back is, you know, and the running game is an emphasis here, clearly. So I don't know. I mean, I got nothing bad to say about Jonathan Taylor, you know, and to Jacob's point, that wouldn't that be interesting if there was a scenario where we had those three guys here? We had, you know, Taylor, Jones, and Dillon. That would be interesting. But again, it seems like pure speculation at this point. And, you know, looking at, you know, the guys that they signed to the practice squad and just, I don't know. I don't know how valid that is. So it's interesting, though.
Yeah, no doubt. And Brooke in the chat says, never been here live before. Hey, welcome to the live stream, Brooke. We appreciate you tuning in. Now, as far as the Jonathan Taylor thing, here's kind of my take. First things first, the reason Jonathan Taylor wants out of Indianapolis is because they're not willing to give him a contract. The contract, his going rate for someone who was considered a top 3 running back, he was the best running back in the league a couple years ago. Last year, he took a step back all the way across the board. He battled injuries, plus his PFF grade was down. You could see it on the field. It didn't necessarily change the style of play that he comes with. But the big thing is the whole reason he wants out of Indy is he wants a new contract. So whoever trades for him is going to have to give him a new contract. What does that contract look like? A minimum of $12 million per year. Okay. So you've got to put that into perspective. Now, we've talked about how the running back market has been so down, right? Why has it been down? It's been down for those running backs who don't contribute in the passing game, right? That's the big thing. Someone like a Aaron Jones, someone like a Josh Jacobs, people that can be effective in the passing game as well, they're going to carry more value. Well, they're peaking at that 12 million. Jonathan Taylor is not a dual threat in that regard, in my opinion. Yes, he is an excellent running back. He can run between the tackles. When he's got the ball in his hands, he's as dangerous as anyone at the running back position. But when you look at his PFF grades, as a matter of fact, I think I've got them here. I'm going to try to pull them up real quick. This is his PFF grades from, let's see here. Let me drop that comment down. And again, Brooke, thanks for hanging out with us. It's nice to have you here on the live stream. So in 2022, well, let's just kind of retrace here. In 2020, PFF grade was 83.9. In 2021, it was 87.1. And then last year was a 67.6. A 67.6. Now, remember what we were talking about with receiving, right? Playing the passing aspect from the running back position. 57.7 was his PFF grade last year, guys. It was horrible. Absolutely horrible. He is not a dual threat type running back. And again, if you want to get him for just as a primary ball carrier, okay, now what you're doing is you're comparing apples to apples. You're comparing A.J. Dillon to Jonathan Taylor. And like Jacob just pointed out, both are in a contract year. To the best of my knowledge, Jonathan Taylor, this is a contract year. I don't think he's trying to dip into the bank 1 year early. I could be wrong there. But regardless, A.J. Dillon was a better running back last year. He was better pretty much across the board than Jonathan Taylor was last year. Now, will a change of scenery bring out the best in Jonathan Taylor? It could possibly. Returning to, the state of Wisconsin, where obviously he was an absolute stud for the Wisconsin Badgers. He was drafted in the second round, right? All those things do come into play. But he was non-existent in the passing game. Me personally, if I was the GM, I'm not interested in signing him to $12 million per year. Now, if it's a trade, 1 year rental, right? And you're looking at it and going, okay, AJ isn't going to be here next year either. Where's the upgrade, though? Now he's got to learn the system. Guys, he's coming from a system that he performed well under, Frank Reich's RPO-style offense, right? That's where he performed well at. Now, last year or this year, they're bringing in now, I think it's Shane Steichen is their new offensive coordinator. So he's in the offseason, if he was involved in the offseason program, he's trying to learn Philadelphia's playbook now. And now you're going to bring him in. He's going to try to learn Matt LaFleur's wide zone boot scheme, all for a 1 year rental. And you're going to be giving up assets along the way. Oh, by the way, A.J. Dillon is a better running back according to last year's statistics, according to last year's PFF grade, according to last year's tape. Now, you can sit here and argue till the cows come home that, hey, he was injured, he wasn't himself. That could be the case. But regardless, we've seen in the past that when you give someone a contract at any position, they typically dip, right? It's natural because when you're going into a contract year, you're giving your absolute best. When you're playing for your freaking football life, you're trying to put food on the table and get the best contract possible. So when I weigh all those things out across the board, I don't see the value in it. Now, do I think that Goody called? I think he did. Do I think that A.J. Dillon was a part of that trade? I don't. Now, do I think the Indianapolis Colts could have asked about A.J. Dillon? Absolutely. And that's what's so funny about everything. Like San Francisco called about Aaron Rodgers, and what leaked out in the media? The Packers are trying to trade Aaron Rodgers, and that was not the case, right? The same thing happened with Matt Stafford last year, which there might have been a little more fire to that smoke. But regardless, I think that the Indianapolis Colts said, yeah, what would you give us for him? Well, we'll give you a second round pick. Okay. Well, how about you give us A.J. Dillon and a fourth round pick? Now that leaks out through the media, and all of a sudden it's, oh, A.J. Dillon, the Packers are trying to trade A.J. Dillon. It's not the case. It's a difference between shopping someone and fielding calls about a player. And that's basically what Goody said at the presser was, yeah, we take calls on all these players. People were constantly calling about our roster. So, yeah, that's kind of my take on it. And I don't know how the chat feels. I'll try to comb through these real quick. Jacob, if you got anything else you want to say on the matter, that's definitely the way that I see it, though. I just don't see it being a good value pickup for the Packers. And again, if you could work out a deal where you're paying a little less, essentially what he's going to be is a pure running back. That's it. He's not going to, Aaron Jones. I want Aaron Jones back for 2 more years, right? I want to be able to restructure that contract and get him back for an extra year. Now, if you've got A.J. Dillon as that pure running back, why do you need Jonathan Taylor? It's just kind of how I see it. So, and I think you're more likely to get a hometown discount re-signing A.J. Dillon as opposed to a Jonathan Taylor who's obviously willing to hold out and break the bank, right? So anything else you got on it, Jacob?
No, you're going to 100% get a hometown. A.J. Dillon has basically been the worst negotiator in the history of NFL contracts. He has said almost on record verbatim, like, I'm going to take a pay cut to stay because I love Door County. I love this. I've built a home here and my family's here. My wife is here. My wife's family is here. I want to stay here. I want to retire here. He's put it all out there. I think Ryan talked about it on one of his podcasts. By the way, thank you for anybody that wished me birthday wish. I thank you a lot. Garrett was talking about it's premature to say Dillon won't be here next year. I think that's very much true. And like you talked about, it's a contract thing in my eyes. I just don't see it happening. I think that just like we talked about, Gutekunst he's just an old school structured guy that he's going to put a bid in. Last year, he was in it for D-Hop. He was in it for Odell. Remember, he was in it for but he always lowballs it. So he's constantly the guy that's coming in and doing the lowball. And the guys usually laugh at him, but the few times that he's going to snag one of those off-season or, that's what he does. He looks to lowball people, and then he signs guys like Rasul or Devondre or insert name here that kind of fall through the cracks, and then he sees the good in them. One thing I will talk about, and it seems like that a lot of these random people that they have history of them. They've either scouted them, they either had pre-draft meetings with them, which – it sounds like the tight end we got, Ben Sims, originally, I think they did have a pre-draft meeting with this dude at some point for some reason, or some sort of pre-draft stuff going on. So there seems to be kind of a method to their madness. It's not just kind of shooting fish in a barrel, trying to, I really do think that they have a weird, like, they always talk about how they want to regulate the back half of the roster. Isn't that a thing that they do? Because it used to be the old adage, like you get your 53 or now it's like more like a 69 and they're just kind of set with it. But it seems like Gutekunst, he's not comfortable with sitting on the back end of the roster. He wants it constantly rotating. And I like that about him. I think that's really cool.
Yeah. It doesn't allow people to get comfortable. And I completely understand what Garrett's saying in the chat too. When he said, why stir things up and mess with the team chemistry? It does kind of feel like Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon are that, they're kind of the backbone of the team. They're two of the most unselfish players on the team. It doesn't mean you can't add a third, running back in there. And I know Garrett's not saying that, but I don't know, Tim, man. It just if you can get him for a discount, dude, do it, right? But if we're gonna have to pay top of the running back market for a player who's non-existent in the passing game, you're going against the grain. It makes no sense. Oh, by the way, he's got issues too. So just I don't know, kind of. It just rubs me the wrong way. I guess the best way.
Not to mention the fact that the third running back's already on the team, as we stand right now. Correct?
Yes, correct.
Jones, Dillon, Wilson, Patrick Taylor to the practice squad. Correct. So I mean, if we need depth, it's here. So I agree with Doug's comment. Like that doesn't make sense. Those guys splitting time and. I'm with you guys, man. I just think it would be bad vibes for the running back room right now.
Do you think that there's any chance that the only reason Goody was one that he's in on every single trade, he just wants to value? Is he like one of those kind of poker players that he's constantly just checking to see what the other person's value is in certain players? He's constantly trying to evaluate what his player's trade potential is. He's constantly trying to evaluate like what kind of chips he has to throw in. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like that's almost really smart to stay with almost week by week, like what teams need what. Okay, so let's say Philly's been looking for a tackle for the last 3 weeks. I know that if you know what I'm saying, like just little things like that, I feel like he's playing chess where other teams are playing checkers, or maybe he's just trying to. I really do think that if there's going to be any sort of trade, every time I see Prison Mike, I just can't help but laugh.
I know, dude.
There is going to be a trade.
One thing comes to mind.
All right, hey, that's just the way we talk in the clink.
Every time, man.
I think that we might be holding our actually, you know what? I have a quote. Where did I put it? Gutekunst was asked about whether or not or why we kept 11 linemen. And he basically said, or he did say, it won't be 11 for long. And I thought that was an interesting quote because that makes more sense to me that somebody like a Yosh, we've talked about Bach possibly, if the wheels are falling off week 4 or 5 kind of thing. Or more realistic, we have Caleb Jones. We've got a lot of depth at tackle. It makes sense, too, because they wanted to keep Tenuta. Why would they want to keep Tenuta so bad? Well, because maybe they think that somebody like Yosh is expendable and they could get maybe a fourth or maybe even like a third from somebody like I don't know, the Jets that have no tackles that really they trust other than like, what is it, Mekhi Becton or Becton, Mecky Becton, however Ryan calls him. And so, I don't know. Or no, that was the other guy. They have nobody. Ryan Rodgers is going to be running for his life. There's another teams that need solid left tackles, right tackles, swing tackles, and we have those to spare right now in bunches. So it's kind of cool to think about even more draft capital we could be going into the season with.
What is the exact trade deadline? Is it week 7? What is the?
I think it's right around Halloween.
Week 8. Am I thinking week 8?
I think it was like right around Halloween this year is where the deadline is.
Okay.
Got it.
All right. Because I mean, like, think of how much the roster could change and evolve in the next few months. So,
and whether the Packers are winning or not, will play a role in how aggressive they're going to be shopping, right? That's all going to come into play as well. Packer Up in the chat says, I don't blame him. Put in a bid. If you get him cheap, awesome. If not, who cares? AJ won't be here next year, and Aaron is approaching his mid-30s. I think he was just poking around. I agree and disagree with that comment. I think it's great that he was poking around, like you said. As far as AJ won't be here next year, I wouldn't be surprised if he re-signs, like I said, for a discounted price, just because, his wife's from here. He absolutely loves Door County, loves Wisconsin. He's a fan favorite, all those things. I could see him taking less money. Look at me out here, agreeing for other people to take less money to do their job. But I don't know. That's kind of how I see it. This other comment here from Split Screen Gaming said the Colts were never actually going to trade him. It was just a negotiating tactic to convince him he's overestimating his market value. It's exactly Split Screen. It's exactly what Michael Lombardi said. It's a tactic for them to go out and say, okay, yeah, great. Go find a deal. Go find someone who will trade for you and he'll give you the money you want. And I guarantee you he hasn't found a team that's willing to give him that money yet. We know the Miami Dolphins haven't because they've still got to re-sign Christian Wilkins, and they are in absolute cap hell right now. So I know they didn't say, yeah, we'll give you $17 million per, which is what he was actually asking for. When I mentioned $12 million, guys, $12 million is what Josh Jacobs got, right, on a one-year deal. It sounds like he was asking for $17 million, he being Jonathan Taylor. So, yeah. Zane in the chat says, of course, Taylor was 65% last year.
65%.
65%. That's what There's the first one of the day. Elevated. Okay, let's see here. Yeah. Anybody who's involved in the hurricane. I seen Larry asking about Elevated Shine in the hurricane. Thoughts and prayers out to everybody there. Hope everybody's safe. I haven't, according to Twitter, everything seems to have been going okay from all the people that I follow and follow me in Florida. But again, thoughts and prayers out to everyone there. Let's do this, man. I have one starred. I'm going to come back to this. This is one of the topics we had on tap too. And again, Josh, thank you for bringing that up, buddy. And thank you for the super chat. So Simon in the chat asked this right here. He said, what are your thoughts on the signings? As Ryan mentioned, went after a tight end and a safety. Obviously not too surprising. Do you think we add an interior offensive line? Okay, so let's just kind of talk about the roster moves today, okay? First of all, Jonathan Ford, defensive lineman, nose tackle, and linebacker Tariq Carpenter were both cut. It's pretty wild because on our initial 53, I know on my roster projection, I said I would cut Jonathan Ford and Tariq Carpenter. Now, they waited a day to do it. Why did they do that? I guarantee you so other teams can fill their roster because they want those two guys on their practice squad. So they'll probably come back around to those in 24 hours after they clear waivers. They'll do some more shuffling with the practice squad, right? And then the other thing was we actually, while we're talking about that, let me pull this up. We've got the practice squad right here, Jacob. I'm going to pop this image up. Here is the current practice squad to the best of my knowledge. Let me get that comment off. And again, Simon, much, buddy. Thank you so much for that right there. So practice squad, tight end, Austin Allen, cornerback, Corey Ballantyne, linebacker, Keyshawn Banks, wide receiver, Grant DeBose. I'm trying not to smile. Center, James Empey, safety, Enos Gaines, quarterback, Alex Magoo, wide receiver, Bo Melton, linebacker, Aaron Mosby, linebacker, Kenneth, fullback, Henry Pearson.
You can say that, Clayton. Come on, man. Odumegwu.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. That's why we've got educated co-hosts on this show. Fullback, Henry Pearson. Safety, Benny Sapp. Let's go. Chris Slayton, defensive lineman. Running back, Patrick Taylor. Tackle, Kadeem Telford. And cornerback, Keandre Thomas. Guys, we talked about they're going to load up with corners, right? We got both Corey Ballantyne and Keandre Thomas back on the practice squad. They're ready to be elevated. Benny Sapp, the dude who showed out on special teams in the preseason, got him back. And I know there's several people on this list here, Jacob, that you're excited about, man. As far as practice squad participants there, what do you think, man? You feeling good about the practice squad?
Yeah, I do. I really like Austin Allen. I thought that he was going to make the squad. I'm a little surprised that that they signed Ben Sims. We can get into that in a little bit, just about what his measurables are, what he brings to the squad, and what he doesn't bring to the squad. I like Corey Ballantyne, Keyshawn Banks, Grant DeBose. You guys know James Empey was a guy that I thought would be on that original 53 over Royce Newman. Really liked Ennis Gaines, another guy I thought would be on the 53. Alex Magoo, it made sense. And then Bo Melton was another guy I liked. Aaron Mosby seemed like he showed up lately. Kenneth Odumegwu is a guy that can't get cut. Henry Pearson, and then Benny Sapp was another guy that I thought would be on. It's really great to see Chris Slayton make the team. Patrick Taylor is another guy that we know that we can plug and play. And then Kadeem Telfort having another deep tackle. And then Keandre Thomas is a guy that he's always around the back end of the squad. So it's cool to see. But I think that we have just a really deep – we talked about how deep our edge room is, the running back room, the offensive line room, the cornerback room, arguably the interior defensive line. I think now we have a deep practice squad, which is freaking cool, man. We got a bullpen. Like, I keep telling myself I'm the eternal optimist with football and the Packers specifically. Ryan's the eternal pessimist. Clayton's somewhere in the middle. But I just find it hard to believe that somebody, even if they're more pessimistic, can't keep seeing signs that this team could surprise a lot of people and be very, very good this year. We've got some sneaky good talent in every single aspect of the ball and a few unknowns, but the unknowns I think are outweighed greatly by the overall talent that's on this team, regardless of how young we are, which I think we're the youngest team in the NFL officially now. So,
yeah, no doubt. No doubt. Let's go to a super chat real quick. We want to hit these real fast as soon as they come in. Mike Hebring, appreciate you supporting the stream, buddy. He said, what really would A.J. Dillon projected value be as a free agent? I can't imagine it's very high as a split-time running back. Yeah, for me, when the number that comes to mind for me, Mike, is $6 million per, right? That's the number that hits because you're talking about the best running backs in the league being anywhere from 12 to 15 million. I would say half of that value, right? Now, could we get him a little bit cheaper? Possibly. You sign him to a 4-year deal. To me, he stayed relatively healthy, right? And he hasn't had the tires worn off. So I'd be willing to do anywhere from 4 to 6 million per on average for A.J. Dillon. But again, Mike, thank you so much for the super chat, buddy. We appreciate you supporting the stream. I'm going to pull this practice squad back up one more time for you, Tim. What's your initial thoughts on the practice squad, buddy? What sticks out to you?
Man, smiles all over my face for a few names here that I was really pulling for. I know we were pulling for. We had pretty good batting average, guys. There's a lot of names on this list that we were picking. But Bo Melton was a pleasant surprise. I was pleasantly surprised to see that they signed him to the practice squad. And obviously Grant DeBose too, very deserving. On the defensive side though, Chris Slayton, I was on the fence with him and Jonathan Ford, and to just see the maneuvering they did here in the last 24 hours is just makes me feel like I'm understanding things a little bit better here. So it's good to see Chris Slayton get a shot on the practice squad. And, I couldn't be happier, really. I think we got a good balance as far as the position groups. To Jacob's point, I think it's great to see James Empey brought back into the fold here to address the potential issues at center. So, all in all, man, it looks great. I'm very happy with the practice squad.
Definitely. All right, I want to do a little bit of housekeeping real quick, and we'll move on to the next topic. First of all, I want to say thank you and congratulations to newest members of the PTA Posse here being YouTube members on the channel, John Schmidt and John Baker. Congratulations. You're now entered into the contest as we spin the wheel on week 1 post-game show to give away an autographed Lucas Van Ness jersey just like this one right here. All right, so you guys are entered into that contest. And, again, we appreciate you supporting the stream, man. That means the world to us. Also, today's show is brought to you by Old Southern Barbecue Smokehouse. They've got 5 locations in Rice Lake, Hudson, Arden Hills, Minneapolis, and Shakopee. You can check them out on www.oldsouthernbarbecue.com. They've got sauces, they got rubs, they got everything. I'll tell you this. I used to have a sauce that I use down here called Sweet Fire, and it was from Phil's Dream Pit, a local barbecue place. And I'm telling you, dude, Jacob sent me some, I think it was called Chicago Fire. bro, I have not been able to go. I went back to Sweet Fire one time, and I've got half the bottle still downstairs. So I've got to get some more of that stuff. Old Southern Barbecue is the real deal, and we appreciate them supporting and sponsoring Packernet podcasts. Let's do this now. Let's check out the signings from today, okay? Let's start with safety Zane Anderson. All right, let's pull up his statistics, his stats, his profile, what have you. So here is his PFF information, okay? Zane Anderson obviously played with Kansas City from 2021 and 2022, and then he was with Buffalo for a short stint here in 2023. His last 3 games, to the best of my knowledge, those are the preseason games. Not that good. These are special teams grades because I think he only had 1 snap, if I was looking correctly, on defense. So I'm not overly excited about this signing. I'll be honest with you. I don't want to say I don't understand it. I do understand it. What it simply means is the Packers had a fairly high draft grade on Zane Anderson. That's typically how these things work. You know, something that Belichick started years ago, and it's really spread throughout the entire National Football League, is you put all these players into a database and you've got your original draft grades on them, and you've got your pro scouting department that's checking out the tape of every single individual NFL player across the league every single week, right? So they've got a decent enough grade that they said, hey, look, let's go out and put him on the 53-man roster, right? But again, when you look at the preseason games this year, special teams grade week 1, 86.2, special teams grade week 2, 69.7, and then in week 3, where he had 11 snaps, the most snaps of any of those preseason games, a 39.8 special teams grade. If you look at the special teams grade from his career in Kansas City, he started off strong, 75.0 in 2021. In 2022, he had a 73.4, and then in Buffalo, obviously, a 67.1. So as far as Zane Anderson, not that thrilled about it, to be honest with you. I'm not like anti it, but I do know this. We now have an absolutely loaded safety room. If I'm counting correctly, I believe this is still legit. We've got Darnell Savage, Rudy Ford, Dallin Levitt, Anthony Johnson, now Zane Anderson, and Jonathan Owens. So our safety room is packed. Jacob, how do you feel about that signing, man? Because you seemed a little more optimistic than me, didn't you?
I was. Now, so do this for me. Now, I'll give you his measurables. He's 6'2", 206. He went to BYU. He had decent special teams grades every single year. As you can see, they do kind of regress. So he started out as a 75 flat, 73.4 last year, 67.1. You can see, though, that in certain games he does flash. He had an 86.2 special teams grade. What's really cool, Clayton, I don't know if you can do this on the fly, but can you pull up his snap counts overall, where they show his positional snap counts, where exactly he was? If you click into like his player grades or whatever, there's like a snap count total. The guy plays everywhere. I mean, everywhere. So for instance, like on that first game against, I believe it's Indianapolis, he had 7 total snaps. He had kick return 3 times, kick coverage 2 times. He had punt return 1 time. He had a field goal block. He had 1 tackle. He had assisted tackle. Like, he was everywhere. And he lines up in multiple positions from all the safety rooms, from the weird slot position. He plays on the line a few times. He lines up in a linebacker position. And again, he plays like every single position on special teams that you can play. So, and the best part, I shouldn't say the best, but one of the reasons I think they might like him, like you said, the pre-draft grade probably has something to do with the fact that he has an RAS of 8.24. So maybe it's one of those guys that they think they could mold into a certain thing they want on defense. To me, it looks like another Dallin Levitt, Pisaccia type signing.
Yeah. Yeah, according to the snap count from the preseason this year, 1 snap at defensive line. Of course, that just means he was lined up there on the edge.
Right.
13 times he was in the box, 18 times at free safety, 4 times in the slot, and 1 outside. It says D-line alignment snap count, so it says out on that. Now, again, his PFF grades defensively, 57.8, run defense, 52.3, tackling grade, 47.2, pass rush, 60.0, and coverage grade 61.6. So I see what you're saying. They did play him around quite a bit, but at the same time, according to PFF, and again, guys, we got to say it, PFF isn't everything, right? I haven't watched any tape on him. I'm just strictly going off of that and the fact that he was available. Let's move on to, Tim, let me get your take on him and on safety Zane Anderson. Then we'll move on to tight end Ben Sims.
Oh, can you hear me yawning? Oh, I'm yawning. My take on Zane Anderson. Hey, you know what, man? One of these guys hopefully will exceed expectations. I think we know what we're going to get from Darnell Savage this year. And, and Rudy Ford's, I don't think we know what we're going to get. And that's kind of exciting with him. But beyond that, hopefully one of these guys one or more of these guys can really step up and contribute. But yeah, Jan, pass me a pillow with the safety signings, because we're just casting multiple lines, man, hoping we catch something. It seems like it's kind of musical chairs in that room.
Yeah, it's like I said, it ain't nothing crazy. Again, they see something in him. Obviously, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like, hey, I understand football evaluation more than Goody, but it is what it is. And someone asked, what do they get paid on the practice squad? $12,000 a week is what Cheesehead Murph said. It's not a bad little gig. Play a little football, get beat up by the starters for $12,000 a week, right? I'll take it. All right, so let's move on to the other signing. The other one was tight end Ben Sims. I'll be real with you guys, man. I seen people online and they were talking about Ben Sims and they were showing college tape and they was, oh man, he's got a lot of upside in this. And I'm like, all right, man, we might have somebody here. Let's go look at it. I pulled up the college PFF. Absolute dog crap. Here we go. Baylor 2019, 61.7 PFF grade. Baylor 2020, 60.3. Right. Well, he was an underclassman, Clayton. Give him a break. All right. 2021, he's now a junior. It went down 59.4. Well, now he's a senior. 2022, it went down to 55.4. So I kind of looked at the PFF grade and went, well, crap. But I'm sure Jacob will point out right here as well, though, you can't teach size, right? You can't coach size. So 6'5", 250. He's definitely got a frame on him for sure. He was drafted by the Minnesota Vikings and then obviously let loose there. A couple different things come into factor here for me. You sign those division rival players just to shake things up a bit, maybe keep them off the practice squad, right? that might be part of it. But I don't think there's much there personally. Again, it's a big frame. He's kind of cut from the same cloth as a Tucker Kraft. Do you have his RAS or anything, Jacob? What's his measurables look like in that regard?
I'm going to go ahead and support our fourth string tight end because I've learned that I've been a little bit critical.
You learned your lesson.
Yeah. So here's me trying to make a little bit of a rebuttal to Clayton here. So Ben Sims, he's a 6'5", 250 pounds. He went out of Baylor. He has an RAS of 8.32. Now, in preseason week 2 versus Tennessee, he had an 89.6 receiving grade. He played 50 snaps that game. He's played 50 snaps total in the preseason. He had a pass block grade in 2 of those 3 games of 72.2 and 71.4. He didn't have any snaps or any pass blocking snaps in that 3rd grade. If you want to bring up that can you bring up that schematic of him real quick on the PFF for Ben Sims of his grades?
The one we just had, right?
Yep. The one thing you will look at is if you hone in on the pass blocking grades there, that's not horrible. 68.2, not great. 53.2, 75.6, 68.4. That's around Tyler Davis type numbers. That's a sift block kind of guy there, Clayton, is what I'm saying.
Sift blocks in the run game, brother. So look at the run blocking. We're going to talk sift now.
Necessarily that he's not. No, okay, he's not good. But that was the same grades we saw from Tyler Davis, is what I'm saying.
No, sir. I refuse any slander on Tyler Davis. You hear me? And you don't want to mess with me tonight, Jacob.
I'm a man. I'm 40.
All right. You're still a young pup. I've got a couple years on you here. I really am 40 years old.
So are you saying
I see what you're saying, though, man. That pass blocking, that's kind of rare for a tight end. That is unique. That's probably what they've seen, right?
I mean, that's what I was just kind of thinking. Is that it's Tyler Davis, but kind of the opposite of what the specialty is. Like he's more of the pass protector tight end, which isn't that, I don't know, useful, I guess. It's probably would rather have that 4th tight end as more of the dominant run blocker, but I don't know. I still think Austin Allen deserves a shot at this team. I really don't understand.
I'm with you there. Yeah.
He's such a freak. He's 6'8", and I want to say his RAS was right up there too. So I don't know.
Tim, what do you think, man? You still yawning over there, bud?
Yeah, this is a little more intriguing. I don't think we were at all shocked that a signing at tight end was going to come in at some point, especially since we all know that DeGuara is basically not really a tight end. It's really cool when you see that release yesterday. They basically just lumped that fullback tight end, and they just like stuck him in there because this is how the numbers break down. So I don't know. I agree with you guys both, though, that my first move would be to Austin Allen as far as if we're going to start exploring additional tight ends. So we'll see how things pan out. Again, a lot of this is just positioning and getting your chess pieces all in alignment here going into the season. So a lot can change. So I don't think anything's firmed up as of this point.
I got you. I got you. And here's a unique stat here from Levi in the chat. It says Zane 40. He ran a 4.440. So that's pretty quick, pretty darn quick. I think that's right in the ballpark of Carrington Valentine. So he's definitely got some stuff to lean on there for sure. All right, cool. Let's move on to the next topic here, which is injuries. I'm just going to kind of put a filler out here. I know they're going to have the next 3 days off, if I remember correctly. But essentially what we've got is not practicing today. Romeo Doubs, wide receiver Tay Wicks, linebacker Devondre Campbell, tackle David Bakhtiari, and tackle Luke Tenuta. Are we concerned at all about injuries right now, Jacob? You know, the fact that Devondre Campbell didn't go on the PUP list, he didn't go on IR, for the first 4 weeks tells me he's probably going to be ready for week 1. And then obviously the same thing goes with Romeo Doubs. Do you have any concerns about those injuries?
No, I actually feel really confident right now. I watched the Gutekunst interview before I got on here today, and I also I had a really good birthday, man. I just basically did nothing but football and not work and then read about football. And then I got dude, it was fun. So yeah, no, I watched the Gutekunst interview. He was asked specifically about Dre and Rashawn, and he said both of them are on track for week 1. It's just more precautionary that they're going to have. And then I watched the LaFleur interview. He said roughly the same thing. He said that for sure they're going to have Gary on a pitch count. For how long, they're not sure, but they said that he looks up to form, ready to go. I'm not worried about that. Doubs has a hamstring issue, which is weird. Is I'm more worried about Doubs and a lingering hamstring than I am of Dre and Rashawn. Just because
Absolutely.
I just feel like the edge depth that I don't even want Rashawn to even come back until he's 100% ready. I would almost prefer that. But if the guy's ready to go and he looks like that bend, the twitch, all that's there, I'm not going to tell him not to go on the field. But it does sound like he's nowhere going to be near that 65%. That it's going to be more like a 30 to then the next week's 45, then maybe like a 60, and then that 65%. I shouldn't have set that up. I set it up for a T-ball right there. You didn't even do it.
Man, hey, listen, it's better late than never.
65%. 65%. That's what
I'll throw you an extra one in there.
You think God never farted?
All right, Tim, what are you concerned about the injuries, Tim?
I'm with Jacob, like I said, man. I'm more worried about Doubs and a hamstring because, those are goofy injuries, man. The hamstring. Ask Clay Matthews, man. He had a hamstring injury that stuck with him from USC until the day he retired. So I mean, and being a receiver, that's crucial, man. Part of that fast twitch muscle movement and getting on your release, running your route. So it's something to definitely keep an eye on. Hopefully it's not super serious, but like I said, it's one of those things where even a little soreness or a little tightness can really affect you, and it could progressively get worse if you're not doing what you got to do. So hopefully this is all just precautionary with him, give him some extended time off, get him in the training room, work it out, and hopefully he's all right. And basically same thing with Campbell. That's kind of what we've been saying with Devondre. Like, how serious is this issue? Time will tell, but I'm excited, guys. The closer we get, we're gonna really see how serious this injury list really is as we get closer to week 1.
Yeah, and honestly, we're relatively healthy compared to years of the past. I feel good about where the team is right now for sure. I want to give a shout out to Kevin. Kevin said, "Hey boys, glad I caught the end of the show live. Had 2 runs to Seward. I guess how you say it, Seward today. Thanks for getting me through the late days of trucking. Go Pack Go." No, Kevin, thank you for keeping this world, this country, everything rolling, man. The truckers, I'll tell you what, man, we take you guys for granted. We appreciate y'all putting your life on the line out there on the road, those long hours that I can't drive to the damn grocery store without falling asleep. I'm getting old. I don't know how you guys do it, man. I'm just being real. So there was something else here too I wanted to hit on real quick. Here it is. Okay. If Gary can stay healthy, he will be an all-pro this season. Calling my shot now. That front seven is so talented, dude. I am so fired up about the edge room, and send a picture over to Justin, who does our PTA graphics. Phenomenal graphics guy. If you guys want a new profile picture, if you want, if you're building your own YouTube channel, whatever, Twitter or X, whatever, and you need graphics, reach out to Justin on Twitter. He's, like I said, we follow each other. It's I think it's Justin at Packernet, something like that. Dude just
J.Y.
does.
Young at Packernet, or J.
There
Young.
you go, J.Y. Young at Packernet. He is just so good at what he does, man. He's such a team player, always helping us out with graphics. The dude is absolutely awesome. So and there was another one too that someone mentioned about Heath. Let me get back up here to it real quick before I didn't want to breeze over it, man. I thought it was
Just said if Heath is ready to step up, if Dobbs isn't 100%.
There it is. Yep. And then someone else mentioned something about Heath as well, right here. Yeah. Okay. I was just thinking the same thing. Yeah.
So pro.
Right here it is. I'd rather see, this guy says, Mike says, I'd rather see Toure at wide receiver 2 over Heath. And then, like I said, Garrett Stritzel in the chat said Heath is ready to step up if Dobbs isn't 100%. That's called competition. And that's what breed great football teams. I would feel good about either of them. I'm leaning toward Heath right now because his ceiling seems like it's just, my goodness, dude. I'm really, really excited about that. SoPro pretty much said the same thing. Heath is better than Toure. Yeah. It's going to be a fun year, man. It's going to be a great year. So we hit on everything that I had on my list. Jacob, do you got anything else you wanted to hit on, man? Anything else stood out to you today? If not, Tim, do you got anything? What comes to mind?
I got just a couple of things real quick. Is that one of the reporters reiterated to Gutekunst again during his interview that, what do you think about Jordan's poise? It seems again that between Jair and Rasul, apparently they both kind of had this running thing going on throughout the preseason. They were going to try to get into Jordan Love's head, that they were talking a lot of trash. They were trying to do being as outlandish and boisterous as possible and really trying to create a scene. And if you can remember, there was reports of that happening. They talked about how like Rasul is like almost ridiculously going over the top. And Jordan apparently has just been even keeled, never really phased him. And I think that's this team just has such a great dynamic between learning how to push things a certain way, learning how to grow together. Gutekunst did also have a quote where he said that he wished he could keep 115 players, that he hates having to cut anybody. But he also said the same thing, is that now because of this new COVID practice squad bring up rule, that basically it's not a 53, it's kind of a 69 man roster.
Absolutely.
So these practice squad guys aren't just guys that we shouldn't think about like we did in years past, where they're just kind of a distant memory. These are guys that can be moved in and out like chess pieces every week with little to no penalty, I believe, going forward. So other than the fact that I think that it messes with their potential to get back on the practice squad, if I'm not mistaken, after a certain amount of time. But that being said, it's a great thing to have. It gives us a little more like of a bullpen that I talked about. And then the last thing that I'll note on is that I wouldn't be surprised if this is not a set 53. We've got ourselves, 7-8 days until the kickoff, and then our own is until that next Sunday. So we're getting there. But they talked about how there's a specific staff grouping from the Green Bay Packers that is tasked to watch every single snap of every single preseason game for every team, for every position, to see if there is some talent out there that's just been cut that would make our team better. So that being said, there's guys right now, as we're having this, this live stream, that are probably sitting there crunching tape being like, oh God, I want to go home and see my family. But that's
quality control and the interns probably.
That's probably true. But just think about that, like all the intricacies that go into each season and the man hours, the blood, the sweat, and the tears. We got football, dude. It's coming. God.
Dude, I can't tell you how much I relate to this comment right here. Roger Davis says, Packers, they can't afford mics for the interviews of coaches and players. It drives me nuts. Dude, every time, this is what I think of every time one of them tries to talk into that mic and it's muffled.
Yeah, he not only rambled, but he rumbled and stumbled.
Every time. I'm like, how in the heck do they not have
How's that 40-year-old clip of John Madden clearer than our press conferences?
Yes, exactly it.
Exactly. Garrett Stritzel in the chat says Heath is a potential driver version 2. Hey, man, Donald Driver, man, it's one of those, the old saying, you don't know what you got till it's gone. What an absolute joy it was to watch that guy play football, man. That catch and run he made against the 49ers where he broke like 9 tackles.
Oh, my gosh.
Toward the end of his career too, Tim. You know what I mean? It's just like, Driver, was he not amazing, Tim?
Oh, man. One of my favorites. It's one of my favorite Packer receivers of all time. And a guy who carries the G to this day, one of our all-time greats. Yeah, man, he was fun to watch. And that was in the 1919 throwbacks, if I remember correct, when he put the San Francisco defense in the blender. That was one of his more memorable plays. But so many clutch first down catches and big touchdowns throughout his career, man. And it's a little early, but I can kind of see that. Malik Heath strikes me as that type of guy. He's got a lot of personality in a good way. I mean that in a good way. You want to see that with guys out there. He looks like a guy who plays with a little bit of fire and emotion. And, as long as we keep our heads screwed on straight, that's great. We need to see that. We always love when Driver would catch that, he'd catch a slant for a first down and we'd get the shimmy and the first down signal. Nearly every time he'd do that, he kind of, I don't want to say he invented that, but, he was known for that his time here. And I see Malik Heath being that guy, that guy when you need that big catch or that clutch catch, he's one of those guys in that receiver room that we can go to. And, one of many weapons that we have. So I'm excited to see him see the field. I really hope we get to see him play.
Definitely. Well, we mentioned Donald Driver in the chat lit up. Brooks said, I was there. That is a core memory. Throwback game. OMG. Best smile ever too. Yep. Yeah, dude. He had a smile. Like how he didn't land a gig with Colgate or somebody's beyond me. That dude. And just to come, it's a rags to riches story. He basically begged the front office as a 7th round pick to just give him a shot on that roster. And they kept him. Another story I heard too, when it came contract time, they kind of hit a stalemate. And he said, Ted Thompson made it clear and obvious to me that the door was always open to his office. He said, I went upstairs and talked to him about the contract and we got it hashed out. Just really, really cool stuff. And he just an amazing guy, an amazing person. I need that. That's one jersey I need back here for sure. I got to get that jersey on the wall. He's an all-timer, man. No doubt about it. Packer Up says, Driver and Sharp are my 2 favorites, man. That's some good company there. Roger in the chat said, thanks, guys. Really enjoy this format just over the mountains from you, Clayton. Really, we're at, Roger. We're at over the mountains, man. You probably pretty close. I actually grew up in Harlan County, Kentucky, so I'm kind of in the corner of Virginia, Tennessee, and Kentucky. And the highest point in Kentucky, Black Mountains, pretty much separates all 3. But let me know where you're at, man. Let's see here. Mike in the chat. Jordy was my dog. Doug says
going into the Hall of Fame tomorrow.
Is that tomorrow? Really?
That's tomorrow.
Dude, nobody more deserving. Just a great group of receivers. Another great 2nd round pick. Which Jaden Reed, man, I heard in the presser earlier today they were talking about Jaden Reed and how he's just you can see it, Jacob. We talked about it, man. When I watched him, I watched his fluidity in training camp practices. Getting the clips on Twitter, and then going and watching the preseason game tape. It's like this dude just belongs. Doug in the chat said, Clayton, I just watched that play an hour before we went live tonight. Driver beat the Niners 1-on-6. Absolutely love it. And of course, Brooke is going to point out, well, of course, he's a dancer, right?
A champion dancer.
You got that right. You got that right. All right. I think we're about ready to get out of here. I want to thank everybody in the chat, man. You guys are absolutely awesome. We could sit here and talk old players all night long. People on the podcast are going to get mad, though. They want information, man. They want up-to-date news, and we're in here with some nostalgia overload. Tim, do you got anything else you want to hit on, buddy, before we wrap up?
No, man. Go Pack, go. Same old same, man. Just excited, guys. Like this roster taking shape. It's going to be a big year. We're going to surprise a lot of people, including ourselves, I think. So go Pack.
Look at this. Eric Sutherland said, my wife's dad is from Harlan County. That is awesome, dude. Hit me up on Twitter in a private chat. Let me know the name. We probably know each other. Heck, we might be related. You never know. So obviously not me and you, but well, I hope you guys aren't related. Well, it is Kentucky, so you got to be careful. But It is what it is. All right, Packer Up said he's in Owensboro, Kentucky. Good stuff, man. Good stuff. And we'll end it with this one right here. Packer Up says, roll out the barrel. Jacob, remember we rolled out the barrel last year in the post-game show, bro?
Oh, yeah.
I'm scared to go back and listen to some of our first shows. I bet it was so bad. Bad.
Real quick, I happen to just scroll through because we've grown so fast, so quick. And even just like 4 months ago, you looked at some of our, it was like 1 view, 2 views, 13 views.
That's
and
cool.
Start, which is great, man. That's I can't thank you guys enough. Yeah, it's going to be good. I will say one more thing. Justin, who does our graphics and the rest of the PFP podcast guys, as soon as I'm done with this recording in about 4 minutes here, I'm going to jump on live with them, and then we're going to do the Packernet Fantasy Podcast first draft, renew from last year. So it's going to be a 12-man PPR. And then tomorrow night, we're doing the extreme 14-man PPR super flex with 2 defensive players. It's almost too much, but it's meant to be that way. So if you guys are into fantasy football, look for those podcasts. We're going to be doing at least 2 a week, recapping. Start with the Packers, break down some NFC North stuff, and then we're going to get into NFL stuff. So it's going to be fun. We don't take ourselves too seriously. We do a lot of gambling, but we do it for charity, and we do it for the Fertile Ground Ranch and that sort of stuff. So anything that we win, we give away. So it's a good stuff. Good thing to be around. We just, like we said, we just cut up and have a good time. So check us out.
That's what it's all about, man. That's what it's all about. Garrett said he's located in Paducah, Kentucky. Good stuff. Mike Sandoval, you guys kick rump. Thank you from West Michigan. Don Hudson season, number 14. Let's get it. Love it, love it, love it. And Brad, of course, trumpeting, hit the like, people. Yeah, if you guys don't care, hit that like button for us. Hit subscribe. If you want to turn the notifications on, awesome. But one of the things we try to do with this show is we try to go live every night at the same time. That's the goal. Now, on the weekends, you'll get some bonus material, some Chalk Talk stuff where I'm just sitting around the house. And it's either that or drink too many daddy sodas. So I'm going to try not to get too deep into the bottle. We'll break down some Chalk Talk for you guys. So, all right, let's get out of here, man. Of course, Brooke like that rump. Yeah, we try to keep it clean on here. It never works. But, most of the time, we're just playing this for the listeners so they understand where we're coming from.
Gentlemen, what brings me to my next point. Don't smoke crack.
All right, that's a good place to end it. I want to thank everybody for hanging out with us in the chat. Thanks for, you guys just sprung the thunder. I want to thank again everyone with the super chats here. Josh Martin, Mike Hebring, thank you guys so much for supporting the stream. Also, want to thank the newest YouTube members of the PTA Posse, John Schmidt, John Baker. Welcome to the family. Appreciate you guys doing that and being a part of the crew, man. It means the world to us. All right. For those of you listening on the pod, thank you for making us a part of your day. As always, let's go out and be the change we want to see in the world, and go Pack Go.
The power sweep. Actually, it's the lead play in our offense.
Tell the tackle, take the defensive end if he's over him. If he's not, you drive down the first man who is inside. Fullback, you tell him to take the first man outside the offensive tackle. No one goes. Go right by them and field inside. If the YN has the linebacker taken out, he cuts inside. If the YN has the linebacker in, he comes all the way around. So look at this play. What we're trying to get is a seal here and a seal here, and try to run this play in the alley.
All right, we're done.
That was at 150 at one point.
Nope.